After clocking up about 13 hours of Away Out on Origin, I have absolutely enjoyed my time playing it. I played it with my 7-year-old son, and it was an absolute blast of a game. I didn't know what to expect from it. And if you don't know what it is, it's basically a co-op only game, which is a rarity in this day and age. But it's reminiscent of the split screen gaming that used to dominate my childhood. Anyway, I mean, I grew up with the Mega Drive. Probably there was Spectrum or something before that, but the Mega Drive was the one that probably made the most lasting impression in the early 90s. And that's where I got my first kick with gaming. But I'd say it was around the time I got the Nintendo 64 and around the PlayStation 2. I think the Nintendo 64 is like the mothership, the Independence Day mothership of all split screen. I mean, some split screen games like, okay, you have two people here, you have half the screen, you have the other half. Nintendo was like, nah, sod that. We're going to divide this screen up into 4. You can all have a tiny portion. It's a little slice of the screen. And now I don't think it would quite fit. But bizarrely back then, it was awesome. It was awesome having the ability just to take your friends on in a fatal 4-way. Or triple threat. Depends on how many mates you could stack up. Now I bring up the Mega Drive, and there was an interesting thing that the Way Out reminds me of, and I'm going to try and explain why this game suited me so much and why I enjoyed it so much and why I think a lot of the professional game reviewers, and I'm not going to name any like YouTubers because I don't think that it's fair to call them out, but think reviewers like GameSpot, people who I grew up sort of really being jealous of. I used to think, oh man, I don't think creating games would be as good as reviewing them for a job. In fact, reviewing them would be far more fun. I can imagine it's quite stressful having to meet deadlines and stuff like that. Although it was always a dream to actually become a game developer. I think that's something that that's why I find it so hard to criticise any games really, because even then it would be like me trying to criticise a top-notch artist. I mean, I can just say what good art is, but I don't have to be able to draw. But at the same point, if I ever wanted to be a really good artist, if someone's better than you, well, I'm going off on a tangent there. I brought up the Mega Drive, and there was a game on that called World of Illusion, and it was a game from my childhood that I absolutely loved. I played it with who was it with now? My brother's girlfriend at the time. She was around, and we ended up playing that, and it was brilliant. I mean, looking at it now, all you did was occasionally work together to drop down a rope, or I think Donald Duck used to get stuck, and Mickey had to pull him through. Oh, and there was a co-op magic carpet ride as well. That was cool. But now, World of Illusion to me, even though it's from my childhood, there's a lot of nostalgia to it. That is a very good cooperative game. Very under the radar. It's not exactly one of the Mega Drive's biggest hits. It's not even Mickey Mouse's best game on the Mega Drive. Anyone who wants to argue the toss, I'll turn around and say that Castles of Illusion wasn't just one of the best platform games. I'll say it was better than Sonic at the time, and I'll say it was better than the Mario games at the time, and I know that's something which people go, oh come on man, they only made one. Honestly, I spent more time trying to complete Castles of Illusion. It was the first game I completed. So to then bring out another Mickey Mouse game, I really got into this one. The animations were great, but as I say, it was the working together. If you were Donald Duck, you would always get stuck. He was kind of like the goofy one. They put two characters here, and Donald Duck, you see him tapping his foot, and he has that expression on his face for a 16-bit games console, for Christ's sake. Anyway, back to the review I'm doing. So, what is it about cooperative gaming that I like, or dare I say love? And it's, well, I come from a generation of games console, and Nintendo 64 was probably one that I remember actually owning it as my console. Other consoles were like maybe my brother's, or maybe I had a second-hand Master System or something along the way. But the 64 was my console. And I remember that you never just bought one gamepad. So maybe it's just a thing of, I always thought games were something that you practiced at home, but you went and played with your mates. This game, A Way Out, from what I have seen online and from my experience playing with my son, brings back so much of that cooperative gameplay. Even if you're not in the same room, you can be playing online, and if you're playing with someone who's halfway across the country, because you are forced to sit through split screen, you can sit and look at his screen, and that used to be a common thing. Don't look at my screen in GoldenEye. How did you know where I am then? Well, it's a 5 foot box really that we're playing in. So we're going to bump into each other eventually, and you always looked at the other screen. You know you did. That's what this game does. It brings back the fact that you are aware that there's two of you there. Most online games now, and this ain't criticising, but you go on, no microphone switched on, you're basically playing with NPCs. It don't feel like you're playing with characters. It's a problem. It's a big problem. I mean, when I went on the Xbox 360, because they had microphones, I thought online gaming was everyone chatting. It was a bit jovial. It wasn't all this teabagging. It wasn't all this sort of, hostile 40-year-old men who haven't quite grown up, so they vent all their rage in games because it's probably the only place they've been allowed to succeed. It was different. This game is a breath of fresh air. Thoroughly deserves a better review mark than it got, and I just want to sing the praises of it. But I've seen Twitch streamers and the amount of sort of tomfoolery that goes on when you're playing A Way Out. And I'm not going to go into too much into the story, because the story itself, I thought personally, was phenomenally told. I didn't expect it to be that good. It was a free game that I got. It was very much under the radar. Not much was said about the story. Not much was said about the presentation, even though the presentation is mind-blowing. The game even has points where it goes, oh, look at that view.
What a view, huh? Too bad I'm not on vacation.
Wow, I didn't know Mexico was this beautiful.
Now, any time a game like this, or the same developers did with A Brother's Tale of Two Sons, says, hey, look at that view, and then you do, that's when the game is balls to wall saying, yeah, check out how much detail we've been prepared to put into this game, and we defy you. And the game even says itself, man, I didn't realise Mexico could be this beautiful. It's the same with the same people who made this Tale of Two Sons. There's parts where you can sit down on a bench, and that game's I thought was also very well made, presentation wise. No real dialogue, but the presentation throughout the game, it made you want to explore the other paths, even though you knew which way you were supposed to go. When you were in the forest and you saw the hanging bodies, okay, even though it's cartoony graphics, it is creepy as hell if you're playing that. I remember playing that going into winter, nothing but the monitor light, same people, same experience, except A Tale of Two Sons was also unique for me, because it was kind of like the very first only single player co-op game, whereas this is probably the very first co-op only game, and I personally loved it. I've had 2 run-throughs with my son. I've got as much game footage as I can, and I wanted just to show you a few of the things that the game sort of throws at you without hopefully spoiling it if you haven't played it. Again, I don't think people watch YouTube videos of full reviews now. What's the point? Who's going to go, oh, am I going to buy that game? It's a different age now. Back when if it was a Mega Drive review, when they cost about 45 to 50, sometimes 60 quid, thank you Toy Story, yeah, then you are going to go out and spend money on Games Master Magazine, or invest time in watching like YouTube, or what about back then it was GameSpot videos. Nowadays it's just, is it worth the time? That's what gets me about games. Is this game going to is it going to be a waste of time me investing 8 hours for me just to drop out and not want to finish it off? That's what I get into. Because now you know you're not playing a game for anything less than what, 15 hours, some of them. A Way Out, personally, it keeps it short and sweet, and it gets you in and gets the story told and lets you fool around with whoever you're playing with. It's probably better with someone you actually know, because there are points where you can just like stitch each other up and just have a bit of a laugh again with someone who you know. It's buddy bonding, pure and simple.
It's an arcade game.
A what?
It's an arcade, man. Come on, let's play. I'll show you.
Sure. Show me how.
Don't go crying if I beat the shit out of you, though.
I won't.
Oh, yeah. Did you see that?
It's called Grenade Brothers.
Has that been in the arcade?
No, I don't know. It's based on Pong. I don't think there was a game called this. But this is what games in 1970 looked like. What do you think of that?
Nice.
So the game itself takes place in the 70s, although it took me a while to realise that. I mean, I don't think you really could tell where you are in the actual prison, but when you're outside, it's like, oh, what era is this? And then you see the afros, the payphones, the Starsky and Hutch bonnet slide, executed perfectly. And yeah, it basically takes off many films of that sort of era. It has a bit of the Escape from Alcatraz vibe, as you'd expect. It has the sort of Prison Break, I suppose. I haven't watched these sorts of modern prison films, but you know, Shawshank. You know, we got to get out of here. Two characters who are yin and yang, Vincent and Leo. Interesting fun fact: Leo, who at first when I heard his voice, I thought this voice actor isn't up to. This is awful. And then the more and more it gone along, and the more you heard him in situations like in more tense situations, you got where he was coming from. He was more of a street kid. He slurred his words, and it was executed perfectly. I was wrong about how it was, how he performed it. And the fun fact about that is the person who plays the voice to him, I looked up, is actually the brother to the director of the game. The director of the same game, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. There's a little fun fact for you. Joseph Fares, that's his name. That's the guy who directed this game. And I think his brother is Fares. So Joseph Fares and Fares.
Name?
Mario.
Last name?
Mario.
Okay, what's your name?
Luigi.
Luigi?
No, Luigi Mario.
Fares actually played the role of Leo. Oh, I've got all that right. No, I'm sure I have. But yeah, both of them are actually both of the main characters are voiced very well. And I've seen that the review said that there's not much to get emotionally involved with. They're kind of right, but how much more emotionally involved do you want to get to these sorts of games? It is what it is. It's a puzzle game meets, you know, co-op game meets a bit of action. And the action scene I do want to bring up, even though it's pretty much close to the end. But I disagree with what a few reviewers have said on that too. Now, when I say action scenes, I don't mean the running quick time events and the more cinematic moments. I mean the bits where at the end, the grand finale, the gun and run, the aim with the left, shoot with the right. That action bit. And I've heard I've heard it said that it was just lazy. No, the gun and run on this, and the forced co-op sections, even with that, the one having to be sniper, one covering the other, even though you don't really need the cover. It's so cool when you're just about to take a shot and all of a sudden your partner just takes the shot for you, and you watch that motherfucker in front of you just fucking drop. Boom! And I'm like, yeah, that's my son up there, boy. Oh yeah. And hopefully if I match the clips right, it will be the clips that we got today where my son was just dropping them and all you hear is boom, 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 and occasionally like it was awesome.
Pull up. Pull up.
Nice.
What's so funny?
Your shooting's good. Oh, look what you done to him.
He's drinking his beer.
Carlsberg don't do video game glitches, but if they did, they'd probably be the best in the world. The amount of times that you're looking down the oscope and you see a body just drop, the ragdoll effect is perfect. I mean, even sometimes when you whack them in the back of the head with a melee, it looks comically stupid, but still, give me a good ragdoll effect over a, Splinter Cell 1 animated. You whack him, the guy then goes stiff and rigid and then wobbles and then gives a sort of, I don't know, Alan Rickman style Shakespearean death. The ragdoll effect is awesome, works well. But yeah, the gun and run section here is the gun and run that games like Kane and Lynch 2 wished that they had. It's fast, the guns work, you get into it, and even if you're not into that sort of stuff, I think the game's aware that it's probably dragged some gamers into this that were not gun and run and are not into those sorts of games at all. I've read reviews on Metacritic of a guy who was playing with his girlfriend. Most girls ain't going to be into those sorts of Kane and Lynch style gun and run. Throw it in as a finale. I guarantee that they'll enjoy it just as much as my son was. He wanted to go through it again to try and do it stealth. He doesn't like stealth games. His idea of stealth is that you take everyone out on the map and then you complete the mission. And it's got such funny self-made moments. I mean, me and my son played it through the second time, and we said we're not going to really be talking to people. We're just going to get through and get some more footage, see what the other decisions, because there's parts in the game where Vincent has an idea, Leo has an idea. Are we going to go over the bridge? Are we going to go under the bridge? And yeah, we decided we're going to go through, try and get those things caught for the gameplay footage for the review that I wanted to sort of whack out now. And yeah, we hit that Connect 4 board every time, and we'd do it again, and I don't care. My wife just had a baby, but a couple of rounds on the Connect 4, yeah, sure, man. I'm not we've got time to kill. That's the moments that I like. Your two wanted criminals, you've just seen your face in the prison, from escaping from prison. Put that on, and then we'd go get in, see the wife, see the baby. Oh, hang on, Connect 4. Or, wheelchair balancing competitions. That's what it is. It's kind of like, it's hard to explain. It's kind of like a AAA action prison break game with Mario Party moments in it. Darts playing, chasing a guy up on a roof, which leads to some of the funniest sort of Benny Hill style chasing. Probably the only chasing I've ever seen that looks this funny in a video game. Now, I could have edited that, but it does make me laugh, especially thinking of the horrific torture scene coming straight after, which I'm not going to put in. I'll leave that for you to find out just how deep this game's going to go with that. But yeah, one of the moments that brings a smile to my face. Now, I pointed out the dual options. You can either go Leo's way or Vincent's way, and I'm not going to, I'm not stupid. I realise that people out there are going to point out as if I'm licking the rim of this game. No, I'm not. I'm just not here to go online and do the same cliche reviews as if you're reviewing a pissing bottle of wine. You cliche stuff. I've heard game reviewers talk about, well, when I got close to the tree, you could see the leaf textures were starting to pop, and you could see that it was really, underwhelming from a distance. Like, don't talk out your arse. No one concentrates on that sort of stuff if a game grabs them. This is pompousness. But yeah, you will find that you either go one way or the other, and then no matter what, you kind of link back again. Which it don't make that much of a difference. You either go over the bridge, which is Leo's way, or you go under. But either way, this is one that I'm spoiling, but it's a very early on spoil, so it's not gonna spoil what the game eventually crescendos to. And it does have I didn't see that coming. So when you play through again, you're kind of watching one of them. So dare to say one of the protagonists isn't quite playing a straight game, but I won't go too far into that just in case you haven't played it and you then do, because the switch when I saw it took me by surprise. But yeah, you would go left or right, metaphorically speaking, and then you end up back where you'll end up with the same cutscene eventually.
Shit! Damn it! Almost had it.
But considering I've played games from Telltale Games where they kind of bragged, your decisions make totally different endings. No, they don't. I've played Back to the Future where you had a choice of things to say, and I swear to God, eventually the game just got so lazy that Marty would just go, "No, I can't say that. Well, then until you literally pressed the only thing that would progress the story. Come on, man. At least this game, it does the same thing, but in between it entertains you along the way. So, an overview of the game. I'm going to sum up the points that are there that you can critique and the parts that I like. Obviously, at the end where you go into the run and gun, all the enemies spot themselves. And if you don't know what that means, if you've played Battlefield, you can spot enemies and basically it puts red arrows over their head. Well, in this game, the enemies come out and go, "Oh, here we are, hello," and then they get into place. It don't so much bother me, seeing as the gun section was kind of like a crescendo anyway. And as I said, it's there to allow someone who's not into those sorts of games, into those third-person over-the-shoulder shooter games, to get stuck in and maybe pop up a few shots and then realise, actually no, I do quite like these games, or this one in particular is fun. There's that. The story I thought was really good. It is what it is. It didn't go over the top, but it was told so well, and the graphics and the character animations and the emotions, they show emotion, like the scene where Vincent's holding his baby and him and his wife are looking at each other without any dialogue. You see the emotion, you see that there's joy and trouble and all that there in a video game. That's unprecedented. So the top-notch presentation. I'll give it to EA for all their talk of slave driving and all that. They do make sure that when the people release games with their banner on, that they, for some reason, are literally some of the best I've ever seen put out there. If you want VR gaming, when EA turn around and say we're going to make loads of VR games, you are basically going to be in a reality unknown to yourself. But yeah, this has gone on far too long. If you have played this game, I'm sure you'd agree with about 80% of what I've said. And if you've gone on and played with someone who was an absolute idiot and annoyed you, well then you're probably going to agree with nothing.